Hey guys, I am so excited to be sharing this special guest with you. His name is Dr. Anthony, and we're going to talk about something that I, as a woman, find very important when it comes to intimacy and relationships. And it's a man's health, his fitness, it's him looking sexy and looking good for his lady. And Dr. Anthony is a man who's going to show us exactly how to do that. Dr. Anthony, welcome.
Thanks for having me here. Excited to have a great conversation today.
So glad to have you here. So tell me, how did you get into what you're doing? Tell me a little bit about your story so our guys can know who this Dr. Anthony guy is.
Yeah, so first off, I guess what I do is I help busy guys get back in shape. Guys who feel like they know they could be doing more with their health. They've probably tried diets that did not work. They might be feeling a little unmotivated and know that there's a greater version of themselves inside. And they want to actualize that so that certainly they can find an amazing partner and get into a beautiful, intimate relationship, but also they can feel great about themselves and do great work in the world. So we run a couple different companies. One of them is the Fit Father Project. So specifically, we help men get healthy for their families. So, but the point is whether or not you are a dad right now and you're watching this, the kind of stuff that we've learned works for busy guys is going to be very applicable. So it's my aim coming on here that I'd love to help share some pearls and wisdom nuggets of what we learned. We've helped over 10,000 fathers lose over 75,000 pounds for their online programs. And so we know some stuff, and I want to share that. And the way I actually began this journey is because growing up, I watched my own dad basically lose his own health. He worked long, exhausting hours. He, would sleep at the office some nights and just didn't take care of himself. And I think he thought he was doing the best he could for me, my mom, my little brother, but he let his health slip in the process of the busyness of life. And we fast forward, this cycle repeated itself for a number of years. And my dad eventually, he collapsed on the floor one night having a violent seizure. We took him to the hospital and the doctors gave him a terminal cancer diagnosis, and he passed away pretty much months after that.
Jesus.
And so that rocked our entire family. I was 9 at the time. My little brother was 6. And so it really just rewired my brain from such a young age about how important health was. And I made some promises to myself very young for my 10th birthday that, one, I was the man of the household now. So I was going to take care of my body so I could be strong, take care of my mom, my little brother. And number 2, that eventually I'd like to help other guys make sure that they didn't fall into the same position as my dad. So the seeds of the mission have been there. And then through the process of my own fitness, whether that was a lot of lifting weights and bodybuilding to medical school and figuring out the science behind this stuff, my mission has always been to help men, particularly guys who feel stuck and who want to have a body that they feel great in and they feel proud of. And it's never too late. I mean, we have guys at the Fit Father Project in their 70s and 80s getting back in shape. So it's never too late and you're not over the hill. So we'll leave that as like the opener of why I really give a shit about this topic and why I'm here to serve and why I got on with you, because I think this is a valuable conversation, particularly as it relates to this intimacy component. So let's go from here.
We were talking about it before I hit the record button. And, I was just sharing with you, as a woman, I think that we think that men are very visual creatures. You guys see tits, you see ass, and you're like, I want sex. But women are very sexual people. We're very visual as well. We see a little bulge down there and we think, woohoo, penetration. Like we're excited about that stuff. And men sometimes forget about that. Men are sometimes uneducated about that women are visual creatures and we want to see our man looking sexy. We want to see him looking fit. We want him to be able to last a little bit longer so that we can get our without him dying of breath too soon because he's not in shape. So this is so important for women. But as I was sharing with you, it's not enough for me as an intimacy expert to get up and say hey, you need to be fit. You need to be sexy. Your woman wants to rip your clothes off of your body when you look good, without giving people an actual path to get there. And that's why you're here. So I know hearing this, a guy goes I'm sure if a man's watching this, he's like, shit, no one told me that my wife is going to get turned on if I'm looking sexy and if I'm, getting very physical. Wow, that's awesome. Yay, I'm going to get more sex. I'm sure most married men or men watching this are thinking that. But the practicality is, what does that look like? How do you do that? Like if you're a guy and let's say fitness has just not been your priority for a while, like what are some practical things that you can start implementing to start getting on that path?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is the most important question, right? Like, where do you even start unraveling this whole "I want to live healthier" ball? And I think the way I like to teach this is understanding the fundamentals first, like the things that are the biggest needle movers. Like, if we can do the one or two things that give the lion's share of results, it's very motivating. And so, the first thing that guys need to take audit of, and this is the most important thing before we even talk about diet or exercise, is sleep.
What?
And sleep. Number
Come
one.
on.
Sleep. I know it's crazy. And so what we've actually found from the new research is that no matter what diet you follow or what exercise you plan you follow, if your body is in a sleep deprived state, those things simply do not work well. In fact, when people go on weight loss diets and they're not sleeping, when I'm going to define not sleeping is less than 7 quality hours, which a lot of people out there aren't getting enough, right?
No.
Less than 7 quality hours. The weight that you lose comes from muscle mass, not fat. This is just what happens. I wish it were different than this. But the point being is the first thing we do with all of our clients is we audit their sleep and we help them sleep better. So oftentimes this is total amount. So how do we need to structure your evening routine or your morning routine so you have set wake up and bedtimes and you're getting to bed? So oftentimes that's turning off the phone, getting rid of the tech, and trying to figure out a way that you can get 7 quality hours of sleep, because that's the foundation. So we start there. And I think this is on intimacy. I'll share this. I saw some research. I was giving a talk on sleep. It was about a month and a half ago. And they showed that people who have TVs in their bedrooms are like 50% less likely. And I made up the percentage, but you can Google it afterwards. Yeah. 50% less likely to actually have sex. So
bedrooms are made not to be watching television. They're made to be having sex in.
Correct. So big thing, right, is for sleep and sex is to get the TVs, get the screens out of the bedroom. But you got to sleep better. So if you're out there looking at this and you're like, I know I'm not sleeping as much. I'm always waking up tired. I'm having coffee immediately. Then we need to audit the sleep and we need to improve that. And that's a whole can of worms. We can get into that. But what I really want to stay focused on is the big picture. So once we get sleep in place and we know we're getting quality sleep, we're waking up refreshed, the next thing, the second most important thing, is nutrition. It is not exercise. And this is a huge misconception that so many guys have, is they feel like, I want to start working on my fitness for myself or my partner, et cetera, or just to be more attractive in general. They feel like they have to be in the gym all the time.
Yeah.
Not the case.
Wow.
Having a lean, healthy body starts in the kitchen with diet. Okay. And nutrition drives probably 80% of the results. So if we can get you on a simple eating plan, which largely the first thing the guys need to start doing is having an eating schedule, meaning when you're having your meals throughout the day. So your eating becomes proactive instead of reactive whenever you're finding stress. So one of the things we do really well at the Fit Father Project is we help guys get started on schedule-based eating plans. And we have a couple of them that we figured out that work with most guys' schedules. I'll give you 2 examples to keep this fairly brief. The first one is what we call the on-the-go meal plans. This is for busy guys who get up in the morning after you've slept your nice, refreshing 7 hours. The first thing you do in the morning, you get up and you rehydrate with 20 to 32 ounces of water. That's the first thing your body needs in the morning. And as a little pro tip, pinch a little bit of pink Himalayan salt in there to get some of those minerals and electrolytes. Pink Himalayan salt has like 84 trace minerals, and we just don't get enough of this in our food. So very rehydrating first thing in the morning. And then this on-the-go meal plan, the first meal comes somewhere around 8 o'clock, lunch at noon, snack at 3, dinner at 7. So to really break that out, it's you're roughly eating every 4 hours. And you don't need to do this crazy like pack small meals, fitness stuff, eat every 2 hours. We've also learned from the research that that's all bunk and BS and you don't have to do that. But we do know that we want to balance your hunger levels and your blood sugar levels. So typically eating something roughly every 4 hours, which 8, noon, 3, 7:30 roughly works on that framework, is huge. And I harp on this point. I'm not even talking about foods yet, because the schedule is just as important. And because if you can create a structure around your nutrition, it becomes something you can manage. It's not this nebulous monster that's just like all over the place. And when you can create structure and regimen, it's going to be a lot easier to stay on track. So if we just got you to sleep and then we just got you to eat on a regimented schedule, we've taken care of at least 20 or 30% of the battle right there.
Wow.
Another meal plan setup that I would also recommend for guys, and you might have seen some of the buzz online about intermittent fasting diets. Have you seen anything about that?
I have.
Right? So where you can essentially compress your eating window and you can shift back that first meal to somewhere around 10:30 a.m. So you could wake up, rehydrate, get going on your day, be very productive in the morning, have that first meal around 10:30 or 11, have a snack around 2:33, and have dinner at 7. Another beautiful schedule setup. Both of them work incredibly well. My point, though, is that we need to get structure around your nutrition. And then once we get there, we can remove all the complication by basically asking ourselves, what are the favorite healthy foods that you like? Well, let's start there. Instead of trying to fit you into a diet plan that someone else wrote up that works for them, what are your favorite healthy foods in the categories of protein, carbs, and fats, and veggies? Right. So for example, let's say you're eating a standard omnivorous diet. Your favorite proteins may be something like some salmon, some chicken, some eggs. Your favorite carbs might be something like rice, certain kinds of fruits, sweet potatoes, and your favorite veggies might be, let's just say, asparagus, broccoli, and squash. Okay, so we know these things. You've actually written out what these things are. We're making it very clear and intentional. Prep those things in bulk once a week. On Sunday, do a meal prep ritual. And I know you've probably heard this before, but have you started and done it yet is the question, is get these foods, prep them in bulk, and then you've removed all these decision points throughout the week. So for busy guys, the key is how can we make healthy living as friction-free as possible? How can we remove all of these decision points that come up during the busyness of our weeks? And one of the best things is to plan ahead. And it's as simple as knowing when you're going to be eating your meals, when your bedtime is, what your favorite foods are, and have you prep those things in bulk. Because I know so many guys that, hey, if I were to be there in your house every day, handing you the plate of brown rice, chicken, and avocado, you would happily eat it. Right? So why don't we do this for ourselves is the question. It's because it takes a little bit of planning, a little bit of prep. So if we can do one or two things that removes all the decision points, huge. And then the next thing, once we have this kind of pyramid we're building up, right? The sleep, the nutrition schedule, the right kinds of foods. The next thing would be actual formal exercise. And what I recommend guys do is set a very reasonable target of, even if you're just not working out currently, start working out 3 times per week, even 2. Just get it in to start build that habit momentum. And the best kinds of workouts for guys who really want to look better and change their body composition is a combination of strength training and cardio together. Lifting weights is probably the best thing that a guy can do for his body. But you do not need to be a meathead in the gym slugging around, a 500-pound deadlift to look amazing. You can just do the right things, the right kinds of exercises, the squats, the push-ups, the pull-ups, the shoulder presses, and do these in a circuit style fashion. So we literally, I want to offer people the fact that there's so many great resources online. We have like over 500 articles on the Fit Father Project giving free workouts on our YouTube. So I don't know if those can be linked for guys who want to actually deep dive and say, hey, this is the actual routine I could check out. But that's what I would recommend. With the big picture here, though, I want to make sure guys understand what are the things that actually move the lever. And if any guy out there were to do those things, the sleep, the nutrition audit, the workout 3 times per week, you're well on your way. And I would start to think about this thing. And this is another key point. I know I'm on a good rant here, but I'm going to keep it going. Is I think a lot of guys on a conceptual level think of their life over here as their financial goals, their work goals, maybe even their relationship, and their fitness is over here. It's almost like a separate thing. And when we conceptualize it as a separate thing, it becomes another thing that we have to divert resources and energy and management to. My thing that we help a lot of guys do at the Fit Father Project is help to combine those 2 circles into one and realize that it's all one thing. It's all your overall life performance. Your body is essentially what I would call your Dharma vehicle. It's the thing that is carrying you through the world to carry out your great work with your family, with your personal goals. So this is all about optimizing the whole picture. So we can start to realize it's all one game we're playing. These are not 2 separate things. It makes it a lot easier to manage because there's a lot more emotional backing. So I'll pause there because I'm sure there's some things that you'd love to comment on.
No, I think this is brilliant. And I'll be sure to link everything, to link your website, to link your YouTube channel, because I'm sure guys are hearing this and going, wait, this is a bit of a different approach than what I'm typically drawn to. And so I want some more information about this. So we're definitely going to link all of that together. And I see where this works, because I remember I used to work in retail in Beverly Hills, and we used to stand outside our store and we would giggle at the guys, because in Beverly Hills we had the big fancy Equinox, and so you'd have the guys who'd been working all day in Beverly Hills and they'd be carrying their bags, and I'd be like, how do these guys work out all the time and they're still fat? Like, they still have big bellies. They have boobs bigger than me. Like, why are these guys so fat? And I think it's like those foundational elements that you brought into, like, I think, you know, in our society, we're all about like, let's hustle and let's drive, and, oh, I don't sleep and I don't do this. And it's like, but it's so counterproductive based on what you're saying. And so I could see these guys, I'm like, yep, they're probably not getting enough sleep. And they're probably like, oh yeah, I killed it at the gym twice this week, so that means I can have cheesecake and this and that and that. And I'm like, your body is not representing, there's no fruit to what you're going out and like sowing and working towards.
It's beautiful. And I think one of my favorite catchphrases that we share with all the Fit Father Project guys is this: you cannot out exercise a bad diet.
Yeah.
I have no tattoos, but that's one I might consider getting, because I say it so much, so I can just kind of give up a forum and it just says it right here. Yeah. But yeah, it's the biggest thing, right? The sleep and the diet is the foundational stuff. And that should be a relief for a lot of guys who might feel like they don't have the time to go slog it at the gym, knowing that you can just control your nourishing food. And if there's other people in your, and I will say this too, there's probably not a single better thing you can do for your overall life performance than to just audit your nutrition and your sleep. You will feel like a new man.
Yeah.
You know, your skin will start to look better. Your energy levels will be better. And you'll finally find the motivation, because you're feeling better, to get into the gym and do these workouts. So
yeah. I remember I'll tell on myself, while I'm sure some guys are watching this and they're like, wow, they're having a go at me. This is me. But I'll confess, I got up, I was so proud of myself. I was like running up to 7 miles a day, and I was like, woohoo. But I was coming home and killing like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, milk. I was pounding the wine at night. I was pounding the cheese, and my butt and hips, I was just like Kim Kardashian, just whoop. And I was like, what is going on? And I remember speaking to a gentleman in fitness, and he said the same. He's like, Arica, you can't keep eating all this food. Like, if you're not burning enough calories to justify all the food that you're eating. So it makes perfect sense. Mm-hmm. This is so good. And I feel like these are just some really basic things that guys can get started with. So I'm so glad that they have you. I'll be sure to include all your resources so they can get started with you and just kind of get a very clear path. I know that you're sharing with me that you've got some products and you have some things that will really like help guys on their journey of getting fit, so that they can get those sexy bodies, so that their lady will go, hey, like, instead of him chasing her around the house, maybe she'll start chasing him around the house and going, hey, I want that hot body. So this is a great path for them to get on. Is there anything else you wanted to say?
Yeah, lots of things I'd love to say. Lots of things I'd love to say. The first thing is that when you have a body, and this is just another benefit of this, when you have a body that is functioning well, and that looks good, and you know you've been investing in, there is a subtle shift with your whole energy and confidence that happens that ends up being as magnetic to women as any other thing that you could possibly do. And I think, like, you know, like we were joking about the dating industry, right, for a while before, and they had like the game, right, the pickup kind of stuff, and they have like a lot of like pickup lines and stuff like that. And then there's also like this deep inner work that you can do as a man to connect to your heart and to your body and et cetera, and how that magnifies. It's one of the best things you can possibly do. I would say on the specific resources that you mentioned, our free 1-day meal plan and our free 24-minute workout are the two things I'd love guys to get and check out, because it pretty much everything we laid out, eating plan and workouts, I'm on video showing you that. So we can send that. Oh,
great. If you send me those links, we will pop those up for guys to get those. Thank you so much for that. I'm sure they're going to love that. Well, Dr. Anthony, thank you so much. And for guys out there, you know, I hope that this is encouraging for you, where it's not just a woman saying, hey, you need to get sexy. You can't go running around the house looking fat and being sloppy and, you know, not being able to perform in the bedroom because you're running out of energy. It's just unacceptable. So here is a clear cut path that you can take so that you can get your woman chasing you around the house as opposed to you always chasing her. Dr. Anthony, thank you so much.
Pleasure was mine. Thanks for having me on today.
My pleasure. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.